Sunday afternoon. My name is Janelle R. I'm so thrilled to be here to talk about everyone's favorite. See, my mom said that joke wouldn't work. So thrilled to talk about everyone's favorite obsession, Severance. Please join me in welcoming today's guest from the show. Every single one of these people is an Emmy nominee for their work on season 2. Please welcome casting director Rachel Tenner. We have actors Zach Cherry. Tramell Tillman. John Turturro. Britt Lower. Actor and executive producer Patricia Arquette. And actor and executive producer Adam Scott. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for keeping us all guessing. Before we get started, can everyone look at Patricia's shoes and just appreciate them? These things are amazing, right? Yeah. Look at all these cameras coming out. I'm sure everyone else has lovely shoes too, but I mean, come on.
Oh wait, you don't know the story about Adam's shoes.
What?
That's right.
You have a story behind your shoes?
Yeah.
Go on.
Patricia has a story about my shoes.
Okay, Adam wears a size 11.
Thank
Okay.
you.
However, somehow he was delivered a size 10 and a size 9.
What?
And so
That's
he's
right.
wearing shoes that are 2 sizes too small or 1 size too
Oh my
That's
god, that's
right.
hilarious. They're totally off.
But average amount, and that's the correct. Is that the correct size?
Yeah, you average them. That's how you're supposed to do it. You just averages out. Yeah, Zach knows.
Can you use that as an actor? Are you feeling discomfort in
100%,
this moment?
100%.
Okay, great. Remember that? Sense memory.
100%.
Thank you all so much for being here. This actually is an audience of your fellow SAG-AFTRA actors. So I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? What was the job? And I know I've asked you this before, but I always forget.
I got a guest spot. I tried doing it with background work, and I couldn't accrue the correct amount. I did background work and a bunch of stuff, but some of it just didn't work. And so finally, I got a speaking role on a MTV show called Dead at 21.
Would we see you in any of these background parts?
A lot of them were music videos. There's a Tia Carrere music video that I've never been able to find, and a Danzig music video where I had a club. We were all cavemen.
What? Buried the lead on that one.
That in Severance.
Patricia, I actually know yours, and it's a terrible story, but...
Yeah, it was a movie called Pretty Smart, and we were shooting in Greece, and I didn't know the rules. So anyway, they had us doing our own wardrobe, and they're like, well, what are you wearing in scene 16? And what's the, you have to break down your script and write down all the wardrobe, and you have to wash it at night and bring it back. And I didn't understand, and then I was a vegetarian, and it was right after Chernobyl. There wasn't a lot of vegetables in Greece at that moment because the wind blowing. So they brought us, we worked through every lunch, and they brought us our lunch, and it was like a roll and meat with hair on it. And I was like, I told my sister after, and she's like, no, honey. So I was like, I don't think acting's for me. I don't understand what this is. She was like, no, honey, it's not usually like that.
Thank goodness. It's great for you.
I had just moved to New York, and there was an audition they were asking if you could play basketball, and I loved basketball so much, I was so excited, and I ended up being I think it's like a special skills extra or something. I played a basketball player in this movie called The Winning Season that Sam Rockwell was in. And we had to shoot overnight because we were filming in high school basketball court. So during the day, the kids would be there and then we would be filming at night. So the only thing I remember is just being so tired. And then the very last night of filming, they'd gone into double overtime, golden overtime or something. And so Sam Rockwell's stand-in had to go home because they would have to pay him too much. And I had brunette hair at the time, and so I got to be Sam Rockwell's stand-in. I was so excited. It was the best day ever.
And I love that. So you didn't lie about your special skills, because actors can get creative on that set.
Yeah, I got to play a point guard. It was opposite Emma Roberts. So you see me briefly in the movie, and I'm point guard.
I'm gonna go dig that up in some old Tia Carrera videos. John, for you?
Oh, well, I'm trying to make it a short story. I was in a play off Broadway called Tooth of Crime, and Robert De Niro came to see the play, and they were in pre-preparation for Raging Bull. And so he asked my friend Michael Badalucco and I to come in to audition. But there was no script. But I was a boxing aficionado, so I adapted a scene from the book of Raging Bull for me and Michael. And we went into he had first interview, I had the second interview, and we said, we have a scene. And Marty was like, well, yeah, we don't even have a script. And Bob was like, no, let him. So we had to move the table, and we did this like on the waterfront type of scene. These two young kids, we had like these period jackets from a thrift store of secondhand clothing, and they just were like, they just kept smiling, and then they just kept calling us back for a year. I auditioned for a whole year, but we were really too young for the roles. But they would get a kick out of it all the time. As a matter of fact, I would go to Marty's apartment in the Gallerina. I could say that because he doesn't live there anymore. But I didn't know. My mother, it was my first meeting, and my mother said, well, you can't go over someone's house. You have to bring them something. So we brought them like cannolis from Cafe Roma. I brought them pastries. I thought that was the polite thing to do. So eventually I did get one line, in film,
Do you remember that
Sis
line?
Corman, yeah. I definitely was, hey Jake, how you doing, or whatever. And I was so nervous. And Bob didn't like the way my tie was, and so he had to redo my shirt and everything. And then I've since worked, with both of them and with Bob many times, but he really remembers that. So that was my, yeah.
Does he know you do an imitation of him?
I do. I can really do. Yeah, I can really do, really. Oh yeah. He's directed me, so yeah. Oh yeah. That's another thing. But anyway, so that was a huge thrill just to even be, near them and stuff. But yeah, anyway.
Sounds like they should have hired you to adapt a script.
Well, it was a good scene.
Yeah. Tramell, for you?
So I was living out in New York for about 3 years, and I was doing a lot of bit parts, doing a lot of theater, and my agent, or manager actually, was telling me that I should go out to LA to do a lot more television and film, because that's what I really wanted to do. So I went out to LA, and I was pounding the pavement, and changed my whole life, and was becoming a California actor out there, and I got a role that brought me back to New York. And it was a role for a show called Dietland with Marty Noxon and Joy Nash and Juliana Margulies. And in order for me to take on the role, they said, Tramell, you have to join SAG. And I said, well, absolutely. And that's how I got my SAG card.
Wow. What if you just been like, no? Zach, for you?
I think I had to join for a show called Crashing, an HBO show that I recurred on. Because I think I had done a couple small things before that, but I didn't have to join till Crashing.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe not. I don't know. My memory is terrible. But yeah, I think so.
That seems fairly recent. Am I wrong?
I mean, everything seems fairly recent to me. This is all still very new.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, you and Tramell and Britt are first-time Emmy nominees. What is it like? What's it like to get that? I don't know, were you up at the time? You can admit, were you up waiting to hear the nominations? Oh, yeah, okay.
Absolutely. My mom was on speed dial.
Zach, how did you react?
It was crazy. I was driving. My wife is from Maine, very rural Maine, where I don't have great cell service. And I was like driving and hit a pocket of cell service, and then my agent called, and I was like, oh well, she never calls unless it's like, you know, something good. So I talked to her briefly, and then pulled over and called my parents and called my wife. Very exciting. Yeah.
Britt, who was the first person you heard from?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I don't know. I was working the next morning though, up in Canada, and the crew very sweet. I was like doing a scene in a volume where there's the car and then there's the all the screens behind you, and I got into the car to do like the blocking, and the first AD was like, well, everyone doing the safety meeting, please honk a horn if you just got nominated for an Emmy. I got to honk the horn and the volume.
That's amazing. And Rachel, you've been responsible for so many iconic ensembles, films, and series. Oh, BG for you. What was the first thing you sort of remember putting together, officially or unofficially, as a casting director?
Oh, just in my life?
Yeah.
Oh, brother. Oh my God, I have literally no memory. I was in Chicago. I worked there I had a company, an agency there for about like 8 years, a casting agency, and then came out here. I came out here to do Intolerable Cruelty, and worked with Alan Chenoweth, and then did like a run with the Coen Brothers and Ellen for like 8 movies, and then after A Serious Man that I shared with Ellen, then Ben saw A Serious Man, and then reached out to me to do something of his, and then this is not the answer to your question at all. Anyway, I'm realizing this like mid-story, and then but that's how I met Ben. That was not the question.
Well, again, thank you all so much for being here. Congratulations on a fantastic show. Congratulations on your record 27 Emmy nominations. And I always say this, but as a fan of the show who, also waited 3 years, thank you so much for not messing it up. This second season was fantastic. Really, really fantastic. I am sort of curious, though. I mean, the first season was so wildly successful. Was there sort of a moment you knew it became a phenomenon? And going back to work for a second season, how do you tune that out as a performer and just concentrate on the work? Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you were fully on Reddit going down rabbit holes.
I think for me it was the fan art that came out. That so many people had gravitated towards the show and recreated moments of the show and videos from the show. And I think it really resonated with me when Stephen Colbert came to the seventh floor and we did a whole video with him. I was like, okay, we're doing something. This is cool. Stephen's good.
That was amazing. Yeah. Anyone else?
Maybe the Halloween costume?
I was gonna ask. I saw a lot of hellies. Yeah.
Halloween.
Some of those are really good, by the way. It's kind of eerie. Yeah. Adam, for you?
Yeah, I think I had never really had the sensation, because whenever I've been in things that end up being successful, it's the few times that's happened, it's usually like 5 years after they get canceled. So being in something that people were super into as we were making it was brand new and really terrific. It's really lovely. It feels good as you're making something that, knowing that people are waiting for it or enthusiastic about it. I think, the 3-year wait, coming back, we were just concerned with getting everyone that liked season 1 to come back and watch season 2 and remind them about and so the fact that the audience grew even more was just a complete surprise, but just terrific.
Yeah. Patricia, as an Academy Award-winning actress, how do you, sort of deal with the other side of this business, which is all this attention and all this focus, and just sort of like think about the work and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, all of that stuff's out of your control, You always just want to do the work and do the best job you can with every piece you have. And being a single mom at 20, there were times where it was like, no, this is not the best, project in the world. But I get to buy diapers, I get to bring my kid to the pediatrician. This is incredible, so just, I'm a fourth generation actor. My dad really struggled to support us acting, and prayed for like a national commercial. And so I was always appreciative of it. I never imagined that I was gonna ever win any kind of award, really. It wasn't my trajectory in my mind. I was like, I wanna work with the best directors. I wanna work with the best actors. I wanna work with really interesting material. I wanna scare myself. I wanna try something new. So what I think you have to real size stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you get too phobic and weird about it, then it's weird. If you're like, what? Well, I hate it. I don't want to do it. Then get out of my way.
Yeah.
Or if you're like, ooh, I want it. That's weird too. So just get in the middle. Just appreciate it. It's out of your hands anyway, and just enjoy your life.
Yeah.
These are not the hard things. I said to her earlier, and maybe this is too much information, but I was like, it's not like you're getting a pap smear, not that she was pretending it was, but, it's like, it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
People are nice to you. It's not a yucky, mean thing.
Emmy or pap smear. Yeah.
Patricia's my OBGYN.
That's a different show.
Well, again, this ensemble is so flawless from top to bottom, and you all work so well together. Rachel, can you sort of talk about, the initial building that core chemistry between this group? I don't know if there were chemistry reads between any of them.
We did chemistry reads with Adam and Britt, obviously Patricia, and we did obviously with Turturro, and then you guys had chemistry reads in New York, right?
I came in and I had initially sent in a tape, and then I came in and read for Ben and Dan.
Right, that's right. Right, exactly.
We did chemistry reads with Devin, with Jen Tillman.
With Jen, yeah, exactly, in LA, right. And so we just, it was this is a big casting process to do this show. Once you get told, I just did this with Adam, so this is gonna be the same information, but once you're told whether, do you have to have names, do you not have to have names, how much can you open everything up, then you get to really just dive in. Ben loves finding people who don't have 1 million credits or aren't known for 100 other shows, and so it's really exciting to get to find people who are, obviously everyone's been working actors, but maybe not on everyone's tongue, and just casting names for namesake and things like that. So we just started, and I remember everyone's audition, everyone's tapes and everything, and how great they were. This is so embarrassing, by the way, to do this with casting here, but anyway, and then we did a thing with Adam in New York, and that I was telling Adam, it really kind of helped. I actually have a question. It really helped set the tone, or once you saw it brought to life, it kind of helped see what the show really was, and I thought that was really informative during our process when we started putting, casting together and stuff like that. But I was curious, when you guys all read the script, if you read this, because when I read it, I thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was curious how, I know you guys probably got just the scenes to start, but when you eventually read the script, did you see it as a comedy, or did you see it as a?
Yeah, what did you think it was? Because this
Yeah,
is
the
a show
tone
that
was so
lends itself
specific.
to a quick elevator pitch.
I thought it was a dark comedy, but pretty early on, I started to realize, oh wait, Ben is directing it in a way I don't understand. What is the tone? Literally, that was our mantra. I go, what is the tone? I was like, is this a comedy? And there were times where I would try really funnier things and weirder things, and I was like, is this a sci-fi soap opera? What is this exactly? Is this a dark comedy? And finally, he cut together 10 minutes or something and showed me, and that really helped me.
Those first few scenes that we got to shoot together, that I got to shoot with Patricia, it was the very beginning of the shoot, and in 2020, and that was one of the great experiences because Patricia is unafraid, utterly unafraid to try anything and everything. And like she said, we didn't know what the tone was. We were figuring it out as we went. And Ben was also kind of searching for it through us a bit. And so Patricia would come in and just try everything all over the map, and then found it, and then zeroed in on it. It was extraordinary to see how many different versions of this character, and thus the world, because in those early episodes, you know, Cobell is the prism into Lumen culture, and so she was kind of defining it each time in a different way until Cobell kind of landed, right? It was really so
weird.
fun.
We were trying to, I remember like there was one scene where I put because I heard about this French custom where there's this kind of bird you can eat. It's illegal now, but it's a white bird. And you eat it, because it's so pure, you eat it with a white cloth over your head.
Like the
No one
feathers
can
and the
see
beak
it.
and everything.
You eat the whole thing.
Wait, this is a real thing, not
This is a
Lumen?
real thing,
Okay.
yeah. And so I did a scene with the white cloth over my head. Like that was a loop, a Kier.
Somewhere there's a version of. I don't
I
remember.
want to see that.
Yes, where
Yeah.
is this video?
We can have no shame as actors.
Release the bird.
I don't remember which scene it was, but the whole time I'm just like, Ms. Cobell.
That's what's so interesting because, you know, you didn't know what the tone was, but you still came in with these bold choices. Like, John, I think you've talked before about, like, the voice, you know, that you chose for your character.
You know, that really freaked Ben out. And he came over to me and goes, well, you know, what's going on? my first response is, well, then fire me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My first response is, I said, well, let me listen to it. And I know what I wanted to have sort of a formality. And then I said, oh, I can take a little bit off of that. But he, you know, everyone was nervous because no one kind of knew what it was. And you're trying different things. My first scene was with Chris. So since I've worked with Chris so many times, you know, that was really helpful that we have the scene in front of, we're looking at the paintings and everything. But Chris would ask me many times during, like, I don't understand, you know, what is this show about? You know? I was like, listen, Chris, you're into me, I'm into you. You want to get in my pants, I want to get in your pants. I said, don't worry about it, man. I said, just, you know, we're into each other, man. You know? And Chris has done like a lot of Shakespeare and all kinds of things, and so. But I think Adam was exactly right. Everybody was trying to figure out what it was, and it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And so we'd look around, we'd rehearse with masks. The crew had a mask and a shield, and then all of a sudden, we would take them off. We would be naked, and you see these people standing around us in that room. I mean, you didn't have to act.
Right.
You know, you were like, this is freaky.
The only time we got to talk to people without masks on was between action and cut.
That was it. Then we had to go back on. So,
I mean, it works so well. Did you keep it for season 2?
I remember like I had a scene with Sydney in the hall and I come up really close to her and I like menace her to say something. And I was like, I'd been contact, you know, like, oh, Patricia, I'm sorry, we have to put you into quarantine for 10 days.
right.
I've been contact traced 6 times, okay?
Wow.
So I've been spent now like a month and a half, basically, alone in a room. And I have to do this scene where I'm menacing her, and I was like, I'm scared. I mean, I don't want to hurt her. People were dying still of COVID. I was like, I don't want to hurt this girl, you know? I mean, literally hurt her. I don't know. It was really freaking me out, you know? So it added another weird element to even acting closely with people.
That's right.
And for those actors who were auditioning, you know, when you get these sides, I mean, even with a script, I wouldn't understand what was going on. And Tramell, I think you were telling me that, like, what was the description of Milchick they gave you? It wasn't even that.
An enthusiastic company man.
What do you do with that?
So I mean, the sides that I have, you correct me if I'm wrong, I had the red ball scene, and then the scene with Helly, who in the hallway, in the stairwell actually, and I'm encouraging her to go back in. So I was very in the dark as to what this show was, what it meant. All I knew is that I had to encourage these people who underwent this procedure that everything was okay, and that death did not exist in this space, even though they had missed a refiner, and to get back to work, you know? So I just kind of leaned on my own experience in corporate America, and my experiences as a teacher, and a counselor and so forth, and tried to find a way to make sense of it, you know? And I remember in my callback audition, I made Ben laugh. So I said, you know, if I don't get this role, at least I made the man laugh.
I do remember, Tramell's tape he had so much menace, but so much humor and so much warmth, and it was such an odd combination, and it was so like intoxicating when you watched it. And I think at the end of the day, everyone that we really gravitated towards, and I mean, you're all examples of it, but like had a good comedy background, you know, and really found that humor in such a weird space that we were doing. I think, like, even your callback, Britt, with Adam, you know, there was so much humor that when you guys were doing the scene about ripping the face off, and, you know, and like in the same with Jen, when you did with Jen. So I think the humor really did play a big part of how we kind of honed in on our, you know, on the choices and everything. And then obviously we had done Zach so many times from another point of view, because we were reading that scene in our casting office like a million times. So when we saw Zach's actual tape, it was like so hilarious and good.
Did you approach it comedically completely? You remember?
I mean, I that sort of just happens accidentally. Just in the sense that, like, I approach life comedically, I think. So, you know, I don't know that I was like intentionally putting that on, but yeah, that's just kind of often, I find the humor in anything I'm doing.
Right. I mean, did you think you were doing a really dramatic scene and only to find out you're cracking people up?
No. I knew it was playful, but I'm not necessarily like looking. I don't know. I don't really. It just happens.
Do you remember what scene it was?
Yes, I think it was the scene when I think it's the first scene that you see me in. Yeah, it's like when Adam is sniffling and comes into the office, and we kind of like meet the refiner.
But it's also the scene where you're explaining all of the rewards to Britt to help.
I think I did that scene also. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And Britt, for you, I know you'd worked with Adam before, but I mean, I think chemistry reads are such a strange thing. There's no really other way to do it. But did you sort of know, you know, in the room that this was going to work?
The win for me was getting into the callback. I had made a self-tape in my bathroom because I had great lighting. And I was so in love with this character from the get-go. I was like, I get to be Helly today in my house. And you send the tape off and you're like, cool, whatever happens, whatever will be. I get the call back and I'm of course overjoyed, and I just take that as the win. So getting to walk into a warm room, we had worked together a couple of years prior. Yeah. And I also made Ben Stiller laugh. And I called my best friend afterward and was like, I made Ben Stiller laugh. Like, that's the win. And never in a million years thought I was gonna get the role. And then I think they used my self-tape as my test
100%.
for the...
Oh, no, we did. We had both of it. We sent
All
both.
of it.
Yeah.
And
But it was an amazing self-tape. I think, didn't you say they're releasing it today or something?
What?
I don't know. I can't confirm or deny.
Well, now they know that's true.
No, I remember when Britt walked in the room, a lot of people were auditioning. A lot of people were, you know, doing a great job and stuff. But when Britt walked in, I didn't know Britt was coming in, we had worked together and had a great time working together a couple years before, but when she walked in, it was just like, oh, of course. Yeah. Britt, she's Helly. Like, just knew immediately. I knew immediately. And then before you even read the scene, it was like, right, that's the solution to our math problem. Like, it just made sense. And then we did the scene and it was, it just completely worked.
You worked together on Ghosted, which I was going to praise earlier when you were talking about shows that people like 5 years later.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the point of people liking it.
I'm curious how easy it is or difficult it is for you to step back into these characters, because you did have 3 years between, but also I know some of you participated in the Grand Central Station bit where you were, I believe you were in character. I don't know if they gave you a scene, but you were, acting out in this fake office in front of everybody.
We did the very best kind of improv that you can do, which is where the audience can't hear a word you're saying. But yeah, we were just kind of going, and I think we decided it was sometime in the midst of season 1. Isn't that what we?
Yeah, like around episode 3.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, right, because Cobell was there.
Yeah.
And I heard you were fixing computers. You were like on the floor.
Well, wait a second. We'd had a whole like PR opening thing planned, but then the fires happened. And then it was like, we can't have a giant gala. This is insane. Like, people have died and lost their homes. And so they were like, well, we have this idea for this one-off moment in, Grand Central Station. And as actors, it was like, wow, that's cool. It was a really interesting idea. It's weird, like the show. And yeah, we just did this improv, and it just felt very alive, and it felt exciting to be a part of, and it felt that it wasn't like this grand kind of thing.
How long were you guys, I keep thinking of it as a box, but how long were you guys in that glass case?
It was a box.
It's a box.
Was
We
it?
were in there for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then at the end, I think we were all kind of like, I could have done a couple more in there.
Totally.
It was truly very fun.
Did you stay in character the whole time, or were you?
Yeah.
Wow. Really talking like as these characters? That is fascinating. In addition to this great cast, we see some wonderful new faces in season 2, including Miss Wong, played by Sarah Bach. I'm curious not only about casting her, Rachel, but Tramell, she seems like such a force in your scenes together. And they say, never work with animals or children, but like, I love both. And, you would think she was intimidated by you, but I think she was maybe a little bit intimidating.
No, she was. She was so mean to me. So mean. No, Sarah's a delight. She's an absolute delight. And she had told me that she was very nervous about being on set with us, but I would have never known it. Because she was so professional and so strong and very inquisitive and curious about everything. She was an absolute delight.
And Dylan, what was your reaction when you heard you were going to get to be married to Merritt Weaver?
I was excited and intimidated a little bit. It's like, oh wow, okay, I better do a good job.
John, you have wonderful scenes with John Noble where I'm actually shocked by how much I'm torn between what I want for these characters. What is that like for you to go head to head with somebody so iconic?
Well, I didn't like him because he was married to Chris.
Right?
No.
You mean Bert, right?
Bert. No, right. Chris. Well, it was sort of strange.
Yeah.
The whole situation.
Yeah.
But I thought they were really interesting scenes.
Yeah.
And being in someone's home and being the third wheel, part of not actually a threesome, but yeah. So it was an interesting situation, and Chris also was a little different than the whole situation. It was interesting to see him with John.
Oh yeah.
But there was some kind of like friction.
Yeah,
It was interesting. But I think the show has all these resonant situations where you go, you know, all these characters, there's kind of a loneliness that goes through, you know, through Adam, through Capel, through Helly, through Mr. Milchick, through Dylan. Everyone has their private sort of loneliness that they're trying to connect. And there's just something about that, I think, that it brings people to it. And I didn't know that going in, but the way Ben directed it, he allowed those spaces between us. And I do think it's a really credit to the cast of, you know, what goes on, you know, because following what Adam was doing, I was like, oh, this is the show. You know, you're receiving it, and then you're receiving it from everyone else. And then that becomes the show.
Yeah.
It's a collective, you know, but everyone's coming from very specific places, like Mrs. Wong. So, you know, she's scary.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of her.
Rachel, where'd you find her?
She just she auditioned. Obviously, since it was we were looking for someone of that age group, we just opened it up to a national search, and she's an old soul, you know.
You won't hear that, right?
Just making sure.
Soul.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's the tone of my voice.
Yes, she is an old soul. That's the end of that. But yes, she was great, and she just understood the tone of the show, which is, again, like we've talked about a million times, was so difficult and challenging. And she just, either she had watched the season and just understood it, or her instincts, but one way or another, she just presented exactly how we pictured her. And then she went to New York and read with Tramell, and it was amazing.
You know, sometimes you do a first season, and if you're lucky and it's successful, it's like, if it was on network, it would be showing every couple weeks and you're still filming, and then they give you input like, you know, change this, tweak that, we want more of this character, that thing, by what the audience is saying. But when you make one of these and you give it all to them all at once and put it out into the world, then still, often the second season they're like, great, you built all those sets, so use them. Write all this stuff back in those same sets, and bring the budget in a little bit, and these are the characters, and da-da-da. So when I started getting the scripts for season 2, and like Miss Wong, I'm like, are we gonna be able to pull this off? Yeah. I mean, it's exciting, it's ballsy. You're not playing it safe at all. You're going outside, you're doing all these different places, all these different things. It was exhilarating and terrifying too, to see like they didn't, you know, sit down and just play it safe at all.
And they gave us answers, whether we like it or not, which I find so intriguing. They're like, this is what it is. It doesn't feel like it was, you know, run through a test audience or changed at some point. Is it hard though, like, because you do all work so well as an ensemble, like, were you a little sad to not get to see the world's largest waterfall with everyone else?
Yeah, I was. And when I read that, I was like, I can't be.
Well, Wolf's Hollow is a heartbreaking episode because we say goodbye to Irving, and like that's so nice. And like I imagine, like to some degree, as actors, you're really sad to be saying goodbye to John.
It was heartbreaking watching John walk away.
Yeah.
It really was.
And the first day we shot with the tri-desk instead of the quad desk was also a huge
Yeah, that was a bummer.
We hated it.
Yeah, John
So
is not
much.
going to be here.
Did you know they were thinking about you, John, or did you think?
I was hoping that I'd be
Oh.
missed. You know, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's. I love being outside. I could have shot like 3 episodes outside. I just loved it. You know.
Yeah.
And it was challenging, but yes, you do feel, because you do know everyone. Even when we were sitting around the campfire, and when Mr. Milchick was reading the story, and you guys were making goo-goo eyes at each other, you know, it reduces you to like being in 1st or 2nd grade, and that's where the characters are in some ways too. And you do, you take it personally sometimes.
Yeah,
like
of
you
course.
say, wow, they're not being nice to me, you know, because you know them over a period of time. So you don't even have to make that up. You know, he can say something to me, and then it's like, it's kind of it lands.
Yeah.
For
And
real.
we were marooned at the top of this mountain, and so we were just, we didn't have anywhere to go. Like, we were all just stuck together out in the snow for a month. And yeah, it's easy to, the lines between characters and our real lives kind of blur a little
It
bit.
blurs. It's funny because in first season we have this big confrontation when Chris is retiring, and we go like head to head, and we went over and over and over. And Tramell was so helpful for me to get me to go to that place.
Mm.
And I have to say, I don't forget. I don't know if you remember this, but when it was over, I was really kind of wrecked. Doing it over and over and over because he's broken. And Tramell came over to me, and he just said, "I'm sorry."
Oh.
And I remember I was thinking that's when one actor is helping another actor.
Yeah.
And it was really like, you remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that. And so.
I wonder if it's, I wonder for Tramell and Patricia, is it sometimes hard to be the antagonist in these, or actually for Britt this season, you had to be kind of terrible to Irving.
Well, not Helly.
Yeah. No, Helena.
Not Helly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of liberating. There's my character, and we see this season, she's like an iceberg.
Yeah.
She's grown up in a really harsh circumstances, a really intense world. She's a motherless child. She's all of this. She's created this aspect of herself the way she sounds, kind of, mid-Atlantic sound,
Yeah.
made-up sound that's not English, it's not American. A little bit of mod thrown in there. And so she's a very inventive person, but really she does not want to get close to her feelings.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So if someone's getting close in any way,
Yeah.
there's a lot of mechanisms to get them away.
I just realized that's totally how Maud would say Mog.
Yeah. And then there's Maud.
I had this realization the other day, the scene where Helena as Helly is bringing Irving a little seal, little ice seal in the tent. And I remember while we were filming it, that there was something about the way Irving was talking to Helena that it reminded her of her dad.
Mm.
And it's what like I think dropped her mask for a bit, because she was like, I'm longing for this person to accept me and celebrate me, and of course Helly has earned the connection with Irving, not Helena.
Yeah.
And so it's like so heartbreaking she can't even get this recognition from this family figure, this father figure. And
Yeah, that was weird. The whole, I have to say, this second season for me was really, really difficult personally, because my brother was dying when I was on the set, and I remember going up to Adam and saying, "Listen, I may have to leave." I said, "I know how much you have on your plate, but I just want you to be aware of it." And Adam was like, "Don't worry, whatever you need." And I think people were aware that I was on the phone in between, and then I would come and they asked me, there's one scene, they say, "Is everything okay, Irving?" When I come back in the room, and I had just gotten off the phone after like 20 minutes, with making critical life and death decisions. And my line was, "Yes." And I just couldn't get it out.
Wow.
But because I was with everybody, it was really, it was very, very helpful. And then afterwards, when he passed and everything, when I came back, to be together with everyone, it was really, it was very, very helpful to come back to life.
Yeah,
But I don't forget that generosity, because, that really means a lot to people.
Absolutely.
So I thank you.
Zach, for you, what was more heartbreaking for Dylan? Watching Irving walk away, or when those s'mores went on the fire? He is heartbroken.
Neck and neck for this. Yeah, Dylan had a tough year in season.
He did, but what a hero moment he gets at the end there.
Sure, yeah, but he lost his first friend and his first love kind of in the same season. So yeah, it's a tough year for him.
By the way, I love that even when he tells Mr. Milchek to fuck off, he uses his formal name.
Yeah, well,
Mr.
That's still Mr. Milchek.
Before we go, because we do have so many actors here, and Rachel, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you, is there anything that you would want actors to know about sort of standing out in an audition, or, I think everybody just sort of wants to know what goes on when they walk into that room, if there's anything they should know.
I mean, I think, as always, just make a choice, make a specific choice, do your homework, really break down the scene, however that is, whatever those steps are for you, so that you come in with something specific. If it's not on point, exactly right, generally we're gonna give you notes and get you where it needs to be. It's not just like a one-time, I don't think I've ever had someone come in a room and have them do it once and then be like, thank you so much, and then have them leave. We're always there to work with you to get you where it's supposed to be tonally, or just maybe in specific moments that you may not have the full vision because you don't have all the scripts and everything like that. But I think you just have to make your choices, stand by your choices, and just come in and have that. And it's the same thing if you're making tapes or anything like that. And if you're making tapes, all you need to worry about is that we can see you and hear you. Don't worry about anything else. You don't have to spend crazy money doing a tape or anything like that. And you should also know that we watch every single tape. I know everyone's there's a little clamoring that things aren't watched, but I mean, that's all we do. We watch it all from the beginning all the way to the end, because we're always looking to find new people. And if we're making the effort to have you read, we would love to see it. So I know that there was a little feeling that I think people were thinking that doesn't happen, but I can speak for myself and certainly my community of casting directors that I'm friends with. We're always watching, and always, everyone knows, we're always rooting for you to be amazing, because when you find it, it's the best feeling. It's so exciting, and we've also taken care of something major that we have to accomplish to move on to another step. So we're always rooting for you guys to be as amazing as you can be, or as you are. So that was all I'd say.
I'm so sorry we're out of time, because I know you were going to tell us everything that happens in season 3.
Yeah, I wrote all the episodes for season 3, so I'm happy to tell you all about it. Yeah.
Please join us for a reception outside.